I'm Dan Zakreski in Saskatoon, and I've got a question. It's a historical mystery. How did I end up with a handmade birch bark canoe in the trunk of my car in my garage? So this is the story of my birch bark canoe. Back in the mid-1970s, my dad, Zakreski, was the regional director for Indian Affairs here in Saskatchewan. Now back at that time, the organization was very proactive with First Nations, and his job was to go out and give them money. In this particular era, he was going to a lot of First Nations and giving education funding, so they would be able to build schools on their First Nations. So as you would imagine, they were always very happy to see him. And what they did was they gave him gifts, as we still see today. So when I was growing up in our house, we had all sorts of really cool First Nations gear. We had moccasins, totem poles, tomahawks, and after one particular event, my dad was gifted this handmade birch canoe, which was phenomenal. As kids, we always wanted to handle it, and when we were really small, we would sit in it. But it ended up in our garage, or in our house. Now in 1977, my dad passed away, and then in 1982, my mom did. So the four of us, myself, my younger brother, and two sisters, were left with this massive house in South Regina that we had to sell. And we had a whole bunch of stuff in it that we didn't know what to do with. So we organized a big garage sale and threw everything out there, including the canoe. I have an aunt in Regina named Victoria Gillis, who was an artist and a collector, and she saw the value of this canoe and she thought, there's no way I'm going to let these kids sell this. So she bought it from us for I think $10 and put it in her basement in Regina, where it sat for the next 45 years. Now fast forward to this year, when Auntie Vicky at this point had died a couple of years ago, and we were having a family reunion. I had another aunt and uncle in town here who were having their 90th birthdays. So Vicky's daughters, Kathy, Ellen, and Lori, came up from Regina and showed up at my house and opened their trunk, and they had our canoe, which I hadn't seen in decades. And they said, Dan, it's finally, time to get it back into your family. So I was so happy and took it. But then I took it down to my basement and I thought, oh, where am I going to put this thing? So the Gillies cousins of mine had come up from Regina for this family reunion. And we went out to the farm where my dad had grown up by Alvina. And I ran into another cousin of mine there, Sharon Zakreski, who's a trustee with the Catholic school system. And completely independent of Kathy, Ellen, and Lori, Sharon came up to me and said, Dan, do you remember your dad having like an old birch bark canoe? And I went, Sharon, you mean the one that the Gillies girls brought up 24 hours ago that I hadn't seen in decades? That canoe? And she goes, yes. And I go, well, as a matter of fact, it's sitting in my basement. And she goes, look, the Cree Immersion School in Saskatoon is opening up in September, and they would really like to have the canoe as an exhibit if you'd be willing to donate it. And I was floored. I told my brothers and sisters. We all had a great cry and lots of laughter over how the canoe has come full circle. It was gifted to my father by First Nations who were grateful for the work that he was doing. He's since passed on, and yet the canoe remains, and now the canoe is going back to the home where it belongs. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, welcome to Awasasak Anamitochik St. Francis School. I'm Kelly Cardinal.
Well, buddy, here's your new home.
Wow, it's beautiful. Oh, I can already picture it now in the elders' room. If you want to join me over there, we
Sure.
can talk more about it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Wow.
It's amazingly light. It's just a beautiful thing, and we spent so many hours when I was a kid studying this, the way it was stitched together, the birch gum, trying to imagine being out on a lake with it. So I hadn't seen this canoe in some 40 years. It sat in a basement in Regina at my aunt's place. And then when I got it back, it was my cousin Sharon, who's a trustee with the division, said that the Cree school had not only found out about it, but had an interest in taking the canoe. How did you guys find out about it?
You know, I had first connected with Trustee Sharon Zakreski in the summertime, and she had called to tell me a bit about your family's story. And she knew about Awasasak Anamitochik St. Francis School from all of her work within the division. knowing that we are opening the largest Indigenous language school in Canada, knowing that we had a strong focus on cultural arts, and specifically learning about ancestral technologies, I was happy she reached out because we were able to make a connection to how this would fit beautifully into the new school.
So this canoe was a big part of my family. How's it going to fit into your family?
Well, kinship is one of our primary beliefs in as Indigenous people, and so when we talk about all of our relatives and our relationships with folks, that also connects us to our past, and that's kind of wrapped up in the overarching meaning of the name of the school, but also in what we're learning moving forward. So the school itself has a program plan with 4 main components: land-based learning, learning in community, wellness, and Indigenous STEAM. And so where I see this canoe best fitting would be aligned with the program around STEAM. So we have a beautiful lab upstairs where I think it should go, because it's just a beautiful testament to the innovation and the skills that Indigenous people had as they learned to navigate the land and share that with others. So I think it's going to be an excellent teaching tool. Just looking at how it's crafted and the time, the thought, all of the love that essentially was put into this canoe, and to be able to share that with our family, and for them to go home and be able to tell their parents, aunts, uncles, mushums, kookums about what they've seen from the past, but today.
And that gives me goosebumps. The other thing too is we have some moccasins as well, which will also be part of the package.
Yeah.
What can they do with moccasins? I know beadwork is significant.
Yeah. So there's a focus on the revitalization of language and culture, and cultural arts is a big proponent of all of the work that the children will engage in here at the school. So lots are learning to bead. We have a beautiful Mahigan dance troupe with upwards of, I want to say, 40 dancers who, are bringing back and showing off their culture and who they are. So even their regalia and the beautiful beadwork that you see them donning will be present. But also, I think when we talk about learning and inquiry, as we had talked about before, it's like beadwork is a fingerprint. You'll be able to see where an artifact or an object or whatnot came from based on the style of beadwork, the type of beadwork used, and it's really important because that's part of someone or some nation's identity. And so for the students to be able to learn about it and to be able to sort of put the puzzle together as to where these came from and how they were used and their overarching purpose, I think will be phenomenal for kids to engage in learning about.
So there's the craft and artistry of the canoe. One of the things that has puzzled my siblings and myself for a number of years is where the canoe actually came from. You know, I had made some initial inquiries with the government to see if they had a registry of gifts. My dad was regional director. I'll actually leave you a card to keep with the canoe.
Thank you.
That was from his old shaving kit. But we were never able to figure out sort of where it came from or who gave it to them. Can your students help me with that?
Absolutely. I think it's important that anytime we come into, receiving things, we understand where they're coming from and how we're going about in keeping them, I suppose. So one of the first things I can think about is an inquiry project that students may be able to do. Again, being able to identify specific locations correlating to the beadwork, even the style and the materials used for the canoe, to study their origins and where in the province or where in Canada they might have come from. I think we know that in this day and age, to us, these are sacred things, these are sacred objects, and they're very important that they land where they're meant to be. And so I had talked to our Indigenous elders, our Elders Advisory Committee about the coming in of this canoe and if there was any protocol that I needed to follow or should be mindful of going forward. And they also supported a student project where they would be able to study it, to learn where it came from, but also if there's a connection to be made, to reach out and to see if we're able to find out whose community they came from, and to say, hey, look, we have this, and we'd love to share our learning and figure out where its rightful home could be. But also the elders were very strong in their testament too, that if it was a gift and that if it's being gifted back to the school for this purpose, then that's okay too. So I think it's going to be a great learning journey for students to be able to try and identify the whereabouts, where did this canoe come from, who made it, and how you and your family came to receive it and where it should go from there. I think it's going to be a wonderful project.
Well, buddy, you're on your way home. Thanks so much.
Thank you.